Make sure you can hear us. Everything sounds good.
Good.
Yep, good.
Test. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
All good.
Should I take? Oh, you got it attached to this. So. Yeah. Yep.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're back here with another ILTACON live session, our inaugural ILTACON live sessions here, live from the floor at ILTACON from the Gaylord National Harbor. I'm Josh Smith. I'm a GRC manager from Ogletree Deacons, but also an avid ILTACON and ILTA volunteer. And I'm here today with our friends from Epiq. So, Tiana, if you'll introduce yourself, and then we'll give over to Igor.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Tiana Van Dyke. I'm the managing director at Epiq. I focus very highly on development and strategy around our AI business and around the Canadian business specifically as well.
Awesome.
I'm Igor Labutov. I had the newly formed Epiq AI Labs and really focus on the research and development behind some of the new technologies we're rolling out at Epiq.
Awesome. So, welcome to ILTACON 2025. This is the 45th year of ILTA. Tell us what your first impressions are here at ILTACON.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
So this is probably my 5th or 6th ILTACON, and last year I noticed that there was a lot of buzz, but this year there seems to be an increased confidence in people in the technology piece. And I think for me that's a really exciting focus, where last year we were talking about it's here, the year before we talked about it's coming, and now that we're fully entrenched in the use of technology, people are like, I want to know more, I want to hear more, let's talk about just what we could do with it. And I think that's really exciting because we're now in a bit more of a comfort place.
Right. Yeah, we kind of had the same conversations with others about how we were, even with AI, and we'll get there in a minute, it's like the thought about it and what could we possibly do with it. We've moved to the practical application of generative AI and all of our tools now, so it's kind of similar to that.
Yeah.
So Igor, tell us what your thoughts are.
I think it's interesting to hear sort of from the perspective of technology, how people are perceiving it now that there's been several years of generative AI being exposed in this space. There's still a lot of buzz around some of these concepts. What's agentic? How does this relate to generative AI? I think people are starting to try to dig a little bit deeper and kind of understand what this means. I think a lot of these concepts aren't as difficult as they aren't that different from what we're already used to in many ways, and I think what's been interesting to hear are conversations that people are having now, kind of that go beyond maybe some of the buzz, kind of trying to get under the hood a little bit and compare these things in a way that's more objective. I think some of the conversations I've had were I think more centered around kind of what's behind agentic AI. How is that different from Gen AI?
And good.
Yeah, and I think the part about that's interesting is what I think people are going to get out of this year's conference is a bit more understanding. We're going to talk about trust later today and building trust in agentic models. But looking at something like Epiq AI Labs and how we bring together people to talk about what are their concerns, what are the things that they're worried about, so that we can start actioning and overcoming some of those. I think people are going to have that here. And the more that we open up the dialogue around that, people are going to leave here with practical ways that they can use AI safely, or that they can trust AI and know how to validate it, which of course is the most important component. If that's what people get out of this conversation, that's what I want to be talking about while we're here this year.
That's perfect, because you hear trust is very important with AI. You hear all the stories of the sanctions from the courts with people citing or generative AI hallucinating cases that aren't actual case law, and they show up in a brief, and it's like, that's not accurate, and that's not accurate, and that's not accurate. So that trust is really important.
Yeah, I mean, we've faced that before, though. Any time you do garbage in, garbage out, that's been a term that we've used for
years.
Decades
even, right?
The technology and people and process piece of e-discovery specifically, but of anything in legal technology, has always been a driving factor on the outcomes.
Right.
When we look at how people who generated that kind of content were using AI, we can lean very heavily on the process and the people as to why the results turned out like that. So as we better those things, we're empowering people to feel more confident in the outcomes.
Right.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of lessons to learn from these previous generation technologies like TAR. I think as soon as, kind of to my first point there, as you start kind of taking away the buzz terms like agentic and seeing these things really as systems for what they are, right? They're systems of these more advanced AI components, LLMs, generative AI more broadly, then you kind of start to think about, okay, how do I turn that back into the same questions I asked before with first generation, right? Like machine learning, input, output, measurement. To your point, how what are the lessons we could learn in terms of metrics we could reuse, and what are the new things we need to develop in order to be able to test these things in an end-to-end way, component-wise, and ultimately, how do you bring this back to the same conversations that we had with the first generation machine learning?
Right. So are you seeing requests for enhanced adoption of AI from your clients and from the people here at ILTACON? Like, you have those conversations with folks like, hey, how can I use this, or how can you help me use this in my environment?
So we're definitely seeing people become more interested in exploring these technologies, right? And also more interested in building out agents within their own operational sort of workflows. There's more access to these frameworks now, and there's potential for more integrations, which is again what kind of a system-wide approach to these AI components brings. So I think there's a lot more interest in seeing how the same technologies that have been used for decades in TAR, right, in contract review, could now automate components of other workflows, or entire workflows, or components of those workflows.
Right.
Yeah, you're definitely seeing people interested. I mean, nobody wants to get left behind.
Exactly.
I think that we're a little bit in a place where the people who would usually lean towards inaction don't want to get left behind, and so what they're doing is looking at standing at the precipice of change and trying to decide if they're comfortable with it. And so they're coming to us, they're asking questions. I want to use this. What are some safe applications? What are some easy applications? What are some low-risk applications? Which I think is a great mechanism to get your foot in the door. But those people there's a lot of people who are still standing at that verge of saying, I'm right here, but I'm not quite ready to step. And so that makes our job challenging but exciting, because it's how do we help them understand how to cross into that new territory that feels so foreign but is more similar to what they're used to than they realize.
Right. Well, that really leads into my next question. What can people expect if they come by Epiq's booth here at ILTACON? You've already said some of those conversations are happening. What else can they learn from you and what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, we want to talk a lot about what we're developing with Epiq AI Labs. That's something that we want to bring, I want you to talk about it, because it actually is one of your brainchilds.
I mean, I think one of the points I try to make is kind of on this curve of adoption of new technologies, right? Like, we are really in that fast rising part of the curve, right? A lot of excitement happening very quickly. I think there are parallels to other applications of AI and like self-driving technologies where there's lots of change happening quickly. But because in a sense, the component, the building blocks, the models themselves are relatively easy to deploy. But when it comes to building out a functional piece of software that has to sit within, a larger workflow, there has to be a long-term investment into building out the architectures, testing it, right, validating it with real-world data, or validating it with benchmarks that can test for various, hallucination, kind of leading up to the trust component and all of that. And so with labs, with the Epiq AI Labs, what we are building out really is a long-term focused environment where we not only prototype technologies and tools, but build out an infrastructure for evaluating them on a consistent basis so that we can scale up the way that we develop, right? Development itself is changing, right? And but go beyond sort of the theoretical, beyond exploration, and bring it into actual products that clients could get their hands on. The Epiq AI Discovery Assistant is one of the products that we currently have, and the things that we develop as part of the labs, which itself is really a group of AI research engineers, people at Epiq who contribute with their expertise in service, so that we can integrate sort of the experience that Epiq has with the technology and the resources that we have in development, and bring it to clients ultimately.
what I would want somebody coming to the booth to say, like if they catch me at the booth, I want them to ask a hard question. I want them to bring me a problem and watch how we solve it kind of on the spot, or how we try to solution it using our technologies, using workflows and best practices, because what I want people to see is that the way we're approaching this is different. We're not just selling you a product, we're not just trying to give you something to buy. We're a partnership that answers the questions that you need answers to, and I think that is uniquely different in a traditional technology space where there's like a workflow and it's linear and there's a button and a next button. But what we are trying to do with what we're building together is create something that people can use for any version of their unique case.
Right.
So you can come to our booth and you can ask me for those, and I will, we'll work with you and try to answer some of those questions so that you understand how you might take our technology and layer it into your solution.
There's a lot of value in that, because even in our organization, we've gotten requests from our knowledge and innovation teams that, hey, we need an environment where we can develop something. We can build out a solution. We might not know exactly what the product end looks like, but we want to be able to play and explore. And it sounds like you guys are doing that on a massive scale, and that's really encouraging to hear.
Yeah. I think that's a really important piece of how we build faster adoption of the technology, is saying, this technology isn't just a bundle of use cases.
Right.
It is as much or as little as you need it to be in any situation, and let's work through that together.
Awesome.
And part of that also is, part of the lab's initiative is not just to R&D and to bring technology, but also to share our experience in prototyping and building what we call that lab environment. Because a lab environment is more than just building out something new. It's about creating a mechanism, workflows around testing it, right? How do you ensure that all of these checkboxes that you now need to control for when it comes to things that could produce whole documents, right? That could be involved in complex workflows or even decision makings as part of that workflow, which these systems are increasingly becoming capable of. So helping clients develop what we call their own lab within their own environment. We started the labs before we joined Epiq, kind of similarly at Sullivan & Cromwell. Sullivan & Cromwell was our lab early on. We learned a lot from them. We worked closely with them in prototyping, and we now scaled up that experience as part of Epiq AI Labs at Epiq. And I think there's a lot of the learnings that we'd like people to share with people, so that they could also apply the same type of methodology to new products that they're getting from their vendors, from their solution providers. Something that can be generalized rather than focusing, which I think is what I'm seeing often today, is too much focus on specific models. How great is this GPT-5 or this new Llama model or whatever it may be, which in some senses, it's an important question in some contexts, but generally it's not a scalable question to ask. You really want to focus on the processes around it. And that's something that we're building increasing experience in.
That's really valuable, right? So is there anything else that you would advise people to do while they're here at ILTACON? Come by your booth, check it out, and have some conversations. Any other fun pointers that you've seen since you've been here?
Since I haven't been here that long, so I don't have that yet, but I want people to have the hard conversations when they come across people. I want you to challenge different vendors, different software companies. How are you solving my problem?
Right.
Because the gap that we have between adoption and hesitation really lies in the inability for people to see how the use cases you've put in marketing or that they've seen on the internet relate to their real life. And I want people to leave here empowered to use technology because they feel confident in it. So the questions around trust and how you'll build trust, the questions around use cases, all of that is critical to us next year coming back and talking about super complex multi-model engineering that we've implemented because we've been so successful in what we've done in the last 12 months. I think people should be looking and asking those questions.
Awesome. It's really valuable to have those in-person conversations too.
It is, yeah.
And to create those relationships so you have someone that you can, one, identify with and have a point of contact that you know and you kind of build that trust with, and have them and come back next year and see them and see, what have we done and how have we grown. So I think coming in person, if you are here at ILTACON, obviously come by and say, hey, those in-person, networking connections are fantastic.
It's amazing. When we hit COVID, I think people got so stuck in their little bubble and we almost lost the ability to network. and the ability to share information with people openly, because we just, I don't know if we forgot.
Right.
But the truth is that these networking environments is where you should be sharing your ideas and your concepts and your philosophies, and everyone should be doing that. And we were just talking about this earlier. When we all share our ideas, we raise the entire industry. That is the biggest benefit of conferences like this.
Yes.
All of these people coming together, sharing their insights. And when we assemble 20, 30, 40, 50 people's insights, we actually move the industry forward.
Exactly. That's a huge benefit of being here.
Yeah.
So for the people that aren't here, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you and learn more about Epiq?
So you could get in touch with folks at the labs. I assume we have contact information on the labs page. As far as broader Epiq, I don't know, Tiana.
Yeah, I mean, we're very active on social media through LinkedIn. We've got all our pages. Many of our experts share individually across LinkedIn. We're, present at all of the major industry conferences. Myself and others speak at a lot of those conferences. We would just invite people to come pick us out of a crowd, ask us questions, engage with us on social media. Our website lists all of our different locations and experts. You can sort by function, by business line. You can get to all the people you need to talk to, and I would just say reach out.
Awesome.
Pick somebody off the website that sits inside an organization that you're interested in and reach out. We'd be more than happy to have a conversation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So any other parting thoughts before we wrap it up for today?
Yeah. I think they're good.
Igor's good? You're good?
No, I mean, that's it. This has been such an awesome conference in all the years. Can't wait to see what comes out of it this year.
Exactly, same here. So thank you all for joining us. We'll wrap it up for now. This has been another ILTACON live session. Thank you so much for Tiana and Igor for being with us. We'll see you later in the conference.
Great.
Thank you.
Yep.